What's up, YouTube?
What's up, guys?
So there's just two of us again. Don't know what's going on with David. He's has a life or something.
Yeah, I don't know much about that.
So today, I guess we're going to be talking about the synoptic problem. How none of the synoptic gospels add up to each other. So what we were gonna go over is there's 661 verses in Mark, and out of that there's 607 verses from Matthew that were copied from Mark, and then 360 verses of Luke came from both Mark and Matthew. And then when we get to John, his is completely different. So Mark, he's the most his God is the most human. He makes mistakes. He's more human and doesn't really become divine until after his crucifixion. And then Matthew, his mostly plagiarized, so his is pretty much the same. But when we get to John's is completely different. His God gets his deity powers like right away. And so what that says to me is Mark wrote out his story, and then whoever was credited with Mark and Luke, they wrote it for different people and didn't like certain things, so changed it to fit their narrative and to make God more powerful, more appealing. And then John just didn't like any of it and just rewrote it in his own words.
As with all literature, I did study literature in high school. I took a Shakespeare class, and after that class, not a lot of people know, but he really only wrote two of his plays, I guess. I can't think of the name. He only wrote two by himself.
Who's he?
Shakespeare.
Okay.
And the rest were, you can say plagiarized, but they didn't have that back then. They take what they liked from one story and made it better and made it their own story, and that's how they kept everything changing. And that's what you see with those three books. The first one, the most human, then the second one, a little less human, and the fourth one, he was just a miracle worker. And I see that in all literature from back in the day.
But if it was divine, why would it change? And not only change, but certain things in each story they can't both be true in both stories. Like with John, I believe Jesus is crucified for resurrecting what's his name, Lazarus, and in the other three, Lazarus isn't mentioned at all except in a parable that isn't even that same Lazarus. And then when the beloved one turns on God, one says his bowels exploded, and another one says that he hung himself, so he can't hang himself.
But they do all say that he was crucified, and for different reasons apparently. But it all leads back to that he was crucified.
Yes, but again, if it was divinely inspired, how do they get so much stuff either wrong or not adding up to each other?
Because there's nothing sound about somebody coming to you in a dream. There's no structure behind it. There's no hard evidence. Yeah, you can have a dream, but that doesn't make it real. So, but they all had the same person or deity in mind, and they all ended up with the crucifixion, which saved us. So the end game was pretty much the same.
Okay.
Those three people just wrote a book that happened to be similar, just out of nowhere.
Well, with the Bible, with them having one book in mind at the end, it was just a bunch of different stories, and then when the Council of Nicaea put it all in one canon, that's what I was saying before. They picked and chose which stories they wanted in the Bible. That's why there's other scriptures that we have that are not in the Bible.
Then there's also stories that really had nothing to do with a higher power or whatnot. So maybe it was just what was needed. Yeah, it would be nice to know the whole story in the real Bible, but
we'll never have a real Bible.
We have the rules that we should live by. We have somebody saying that, telling us these good things that they've done, these bad that they've done. If they were bad, they wouldn't have told us the bad things. They would have just left that out. Somebody put that in there for a reason, so we can have our own understanding about it. I would like to know a true first and unedited Bible, but that won't ever happen. If I can start with a couple stories that weren't edited, that'd be cool.
Let's go back to what you said about Jesus having to be sacrificed. Why do you think a sacrifice is a good thing?
We make sacrifices every day, like not one that great, but there are sacrifices every day, and back then that was what you did to show your if you were really, that's what you, that's what you did to show that you really wanted that more than anything. You gave up yourself because you didn't have uh, luxuries like we do now. You gave him gold, or you sacrificed yourself. You gave him a goat, whatever. But sacrificing yourself was the most honorable thing to do.
But it's God's story. He can do anything. It doesn't necessarily have to be a sacrifice. Because if you think about it from back in the day, the only sacrifice and bloodletting would be black magic. So even in that narrative, that sacrifice would be a blood spell, and it would still be black magic.
I got lost. What do you mean?
So Jesus' sacrifice, okay? It is pretty much taking a life. So that even today, if somebody said they were going to sacrifice a life, we would consider that black magic or dark magic. Or so God being all-knowing, how is blood sacrifice or life sacrifice a good thing?
So when we had questions about him in the future, he is telling us that he gave up his son so that we can live our lives with free will, with our we can be our what we want to be. He gave up his son for that. And when we question it during our lives, we always can go back to how much God loved us because he gave up his son for us.
Okay, you say... Oh, is David here? Oh, he is.
We have a surprise guest.
Wow, look who is here.
You're on camera.
Where's the camera?
It's right there.
Oh, I know. Where's your at?
You saw my lap.
It's on my lap.
David just got here, so we're gonna pause for a second and reorganize. Okay, so let's recap. Me and Londo were talking about what he copied from Mark. And there's more stuff that doesn't add up with each other. And we got to Jesus' sacrifice and how Londo said sacrifice is a good thing.
I did not say that.
I said that's what you said. God sending Jesus to be the sacrifice.
Oh, okay. So I said whenever there's questioning going on in our lives that whether or not he's real or he's there or he's taking care of us, I said that he gave up his son, and that is one of the most honorable things you can do back then is sacrifice yourself. And when he gave up his son just to show us how much he loved us, whenever we're questioning later on in life, knowing how big of a sacrifice he actually gave.
Okay, so my question is, if I give you my car, that's me sacrificing my car to you. If I ask for it back, that's not really a sacrifice. That's just me lending it to you, right?
Well, you sacrificed your ability to drive for a day.
Okay, but that's not the same thing. Where is your God now? Okay. So you agree he's in heaven?
Yeah. He's in heaven.
Okay, so again, I ask, what did he sacrifice?
All right.
If
So-
he's
Okay. Okay. This came to me as we were speaking. So you even if you knew your son was gonna come back, whether or not we know that he knew his son was gonna come back, your son's dead for 3 days. How would that? That would still be a sacrifice. Even
okay,
if
but he's immortal.
Well, we don't know if he knew that or not. I don't know that. But even if you lost your son for 3 days, that would be horrible, right? That'd be sacrifice.
Okay.
Whether or not you knew he was coming back or not, that's still missing, and just the part of you was gone for.
Okay, but that doesn't work for me. God is immortal, no matter.
Would you want your son to die knowing he would still come back? Would you still want your son to end up to go through the pain of dying?
And he went through a gruesome death.
Okay, there's kids here that go through years of pain that is incredibly worse than what Jesus went through for 3 days. That's a bad weekend.
No. Okay. So what he went through for however long it takes someone back in the day to bleed out, he suffered that long. He was hanging from his hands or his wrists, I would say, because they weren't hanging from your hands. That would be painful. Would you like to be hung from your hands with 160 pounds of weighing you down?
Okay, but if we go through from the beginning of when, so let's start with point A, from when God started, whatever, all the way to that weekend. That is a dot, a micro dot on the time scale, and then continuing to where we are now. That is nothing.
Well, if you put it like that, everything is nothing.
Okay, but for an immortal God, that time doesn't.
Anything?
Yeah. So even if he didn't know he wasn't going to come back, not knowing he wasn't going to come back for 3 days in that time span is nothing. That's
Still
not the
something.
same as my kid being missing for 3 days. That 3 days is infinity time longer.
So what if he's immortal? He's not gonna die. So if he didn't know Jesus was gonna come back, that's gonna be a lot longer than you having to deal with him. Your son gonna be gone for 3 days.
Actually, he didn't know
It's
he was gonna
immortal.
I don't know why I kept saying that, but he didn't know he was going to come back. He said after the 3rd day.
You will rise.
So yeah, so he didn't know he was going to come back. But still, even if you knew your son was going to come back, the worry is still there. The pain of being separated from your son is still there. Whether or not you live forever or a couple of years.
It says out in 3 days that will build the temple. That's what it says.
But still, I'm saying there's kids that have more pain than what Jesus went through, and you guys are saying that's the best.
Getting whipped when your flesh getting pulled off of you, that's
That was-
pretty painful.
Yeah, has been people that went through more pain than him. There was a lot of slaves that got whipped and cut up and whatever. But it's still giving your life. You don't have another one. This is your human life that he gave up, and then he was saved. So he gave up his human life. He didn't know.
Okay, if you knew you could be God and immortal, would you want this human life?
if you understood that a human life is different from a mortal life, you still want to be there with your family, loved ones, and peers, and live a normal life until it's your time.
It's another showing. It's just a showing of that you can deal with the fleshly desires and not have to fall into them. That was another thing Jesus was doing, showing you that.
But Jesus was perfect. He couldn't do that stuff anyways.
That's why he was flesh. He just had control over it.
What do you mean?
Being in the flesh.
Can Jesus lie?
Yeah, he has free will.
Yeah, it's a fleshly desire. He was in the flesh. He wasn't in the spirit.
That goes against.
Because you saying he could lie doesn't mean that he did lie.
Well, God lied.
Well, yeah, I believe that, but I'm saying in the Bible, it says he's perfect. He can't do that stuff.
He's perfect where he didn't do it. He didn't lie. He lived a perfect life. But being in the flesh, he had the opportunity to fall into the fleshly desires.
But
that's what the devil
still,
did.
I don't think that's what the Bible was saying.
Tempt him. That's what the devil was doing. Was trying to tempt him, trying to prove a point that even God could fall into the fleshly desires, but Jesus beat him.
Okay, but if you're God and everything is yours, heaven's yours, earth's yours, what exactly could the devil tempt him with if everything's his anyways?
The desires that we have.
Desires for lust, jealousy, lust, envy. What are all the other ones? So many.
But if he were to, let's say if he were to fall into those desires, he wouldn't be all powerful.
That's what the devil was trying to show, but he couldn't do it.
So he is all powerful, and there's nothing that could tempt him anyways.
I guess if you look at it from that, what the stories are trying to say is that he had the willpower. He was perfect, but he didn't have to be.
And that's another reason I don't think the Bibles are true. Because if he is perfect, all-knowing, and everything, he couldn't be tempted.
So he is perfect. He's perfect enough to know that he doesn't want to do those things. So he doesn't do them. It probably never even crossed his mind that, hey, I could steal that and I wouldn't have to pay for it. It probably never registered because he knew what was right. He knew how to be good. He knew how to be pure.
So he...
What the...
Oh.
Hey.
Evil cat.
Yes, cats are evil. This is the wife's cat. Go on. Wow, I lost my train of thought. What was I saying?
I'll take it as one.
Yeah, it sounds like a Christian. I don't know, guys. We'll just call that one a win for them because I don't remember what we were talking about.
Taking dubs every day.
Like I've said before, it's not about the win or loss. It's just about the conversation.
That's what atheists say whenever we're wrong.
You know what could prove me right?
What?
Your God showing up.
Ask for it.
We're on YouTube. If you wanted to show up, this would be the perfect time. There's 100. There's like 2 people watching. Hey guys.
Yeah, I'm done.
So we've been doing this for a couple months now. We really want to get the subscribers up. So if you watch us, spread the word. Just like and subscribe.
Talk to me.
And if you are local, we will have you here. And if you're not local, we can arrange a hangout or Skype or something. So message us.
Come on, flat earthers. I want to talk to y'all.
Oh my God! Don't start it.